Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3.0 is roll call. School board members, everybody's present. We'll move directly into 4.0 communications and reports. We have a few tonight, so we'll start with 4.1 administration and department head reports. Number 1, superintendent of schools. So Superintendent Colness, the floor is yours.
Well, we'll start off with the legislative updates. So if we have about 30 days here to go through this information because it's quite extensive, but they did, close down the session early. There are major changes. I printed out some information for you that was also shared in a previous email. I'm not going to go through it in detail tonight, other than it's similar to what we've talked about at previous meetings that, so it would have the run on spreadsheet on there. All right. We did get, there's increased revenue coming to school districts in Minnesota, but there's also many changes in policy and also in finance. So there are some highlights in here. I mean, the basic formula is going to be increasing by 4% for next year, which is larger than any number I can remember. And then the second year is a little bit smaller than that. However, the future is attached to inflationary factors. So, that will help out in the future with funding. However, but right now, I was in a meeting this morning with superintendents from across Northwest Minnesota, and everybody, there are so many questions about the changes. For example, we have unemployment now that we're going to have to work through with hourly employees that actually kicks in on May 28th. But we really haven't received any information as far as how to process through that. I'll be sitting in a webinar tomorrow, but that's something that's definitely going to impact, everybody, not just school districts, but also other employers. I'll let you take this home and read through it, and we'll try to keep you updated. They do a great job from MASA, MSBA, and the MREA of keeping us abreast on how things are going. We decided today that we're going to continue to meet weekly, like we've done throughout the school year, because there have been so many changes. So I will do my best to keep as updated as possible and keep everybody in the district informed.
I'm just going to jump onto that as the legislative liaison. I echo those comments. Please review this, but look over MDA and MSBA's overview. There's also other changes that don't necessarily go into effect right now. They're gonna drastically affect the way that we do business, future negotiations, everything. So make sure take some time, some leisurely reading, and just try to catch up. You don't need to learn everything, but there's some major changes. I mean, they're drastic changes that this board needs to be aware of, because it'll, like I said, unemployment's going to start by this year, but there's some other things that are going to be required of the district that it's going to change the way we do business. So
yeah,
take a peek and get back with Mike or myself or whomever if you have questions.
And I'd be willing to bet if you have a question, I might as well. This morning in the Zoom, there were so many questions, and that we're waiting for clarification, whether it be from the Department of Ed or from MSBA, because they're sifting through all this. They did say that any policies that would be impacted by these changes, their goal from MSBA is to get those model policies out by the middle of June. So that would be very beneficial if they do that. So they're putting in overtime right now and trying to get things put in place. But there are numerous questions that they didn't have answers for this morning as well. So we'll just keep working away. But there's a lot of positive in here, but there are also some things that are going to be challenging. So that's how I'd sum it up. Just a reminder that the employee recognition celebration is coming up next Tuesday or May 30th over at the Eagles, and I believe that starts at 4 o'clock. And if you get a chance, please stop on over. Fee schedule proposal. So I met with Jill and Brian and Scott Kobrinski this week to go through some recommendations. No formal action is being requested tonight, but if you take a look, you can see that column. You can see where it says 22-23, basically school year. You can see what our current fees are. The proposed changes are in red, and yes, there are some significant increases in certain ones. We're trying to balance some things out. And if you're wondering what that revenue column is in the blue, that would be what we right now have on the books for any revenue that was produced by those fees. And this is just for your information. It's a recommendation to coming forward here. The cost of operating our extracurricular activities has not stayed steady. You know, everything is coming with a larger price tag these days. So Scott did a good job of getting information from other area schools to get some comparisons, but this is FYI, and it would be nice to get it approved in June, but this is just for your information. Next thing would be technology purchases. Gave you two proposals at the last board meeting, one for Chromebooks for 2 grade levels and the other one for staff machines. It'd be 50 new staff machines that a majority will go to New Heights. Found out late yesterday that Apple is going to be selling the same exact machines we just purchased this year for a discounted price. So Jason was able to get that pricing today, and it will save the district about $20,000. Compared to what the original proposal was. So that has been added to business, so we can get that approved tonight, because it's a first come, first serve. And they're going to eventually run out of those, and the person's holding them until we get that purchase order sent in. So that's a good deal for the district, and those machines have worked very, very well. But New Heights is in need of new machines. Theirs have definitely been great. They've been workhorses for the last 7 or 8 years. And just some highlights from this week, or the last week or two. We had a fun day or New Heights last week. I was standing at the front door, and all these kids are coming in all excited about what are we doing with the bouncy toys. And they had these huge fun games, blow up games that they brought in from Fargo. And Diane had organized that, and the New Heights, Mrs. Croach had lined up for the classes to go out, and kids were so excited. That was a fun event, and I'd like to thank everybody who helped with that process. The American Indian graduation celebration was held at the Alara Center, and it's a combination with Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, and it was very, very well attended. 5 of our 6 graduates were there from the senior class, and it was really a nice event. So I'd like to thank Erica and Soraya and everybody else involved from the committee who helped plan that. But I would say there were probably a couple hundred people there. And it was it's growing. It's just really growing. The last few years, it's really starting to take off. Building, bonding, and bridging our community. That event was on Monday in the senior high cafeteria from 4 to 6. I didn't know how the attendance would be, but it was very, very good. We kind of ran out of food almost, which was great. But we got to get up there and do some dancing with the kids, and they had where they would do the henna on the Soraya's is still on your hand a little bit, but it was really a fun event. And I'd like to thank Dec Ali. I mean, she really did a lot of work putting that together, and a lot of different families and different culture, and it was fun to visit. So appreciate all of their efforts. They had South Point Ninja Day yesterday, and that was an event. Did you climb through there, Chad? Or okay. But I know Sierra was instrumental with that, and the rest of the staff. So 5th grade staff. So we'd like to thank them for all of their efforts. Outsiders Day was today. I don't know if you got a chance to get out there. There were probably 30. I thought about 32. Yeah, I mean, awesome cars, and the kids were dressed up and having a great time. And I know that Amanda Adams and the 7th grade team, they work hard with that. And that was a very fun event. So thank you there. And we've had numerous concerts and athletic events. So just really want to say thank you. And I hope I didn't miss anything, but we've had some very fun events that are also educationally based. So appreciate all the efforts of the staff. And that is all that I have.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're still on 4.1. Let's move to item number 3, principal reports. So we got a principal report from Mrs. Walters from Central Middle School. So Jill, the floor is yours. Have it.
First, thanks for the opportunity to come and to share with you conversations that we've had at the middle school and movement that we are going to make as a building and as a team of educators to support students with some exciting opportunities through electives, and then also making some shifts in our schedule to provide students some additional opportunities for some career and college readiness work, some deeper work with reading and math, and some SEL pieces. So I want to share with you, and maybe it'll get pulled up, but I think it's also in the notes here too. Before I get too far along, I wanted to share a little bit of history with the conversations that have led to some of the things that we're going to put into place. When I started here now 2 years ago, in meetings and in conversations, there would be themes that would come up. We don't have enough time. We're structured more like a junior high with a 7-period day. We're called a middle school. It would be good to have some planning opportunities, some additional connections. What about the students that need more help? Our schedule doesn't necessarily lend to us differentiating as much as we would want to. How do we put MTSS into place even more with students? How can we use our time best? How can we be strategic? How can we be intentional about the work and the time that we have with students, because the minutes in a class period go by really quickly. So if I tallied all of those pieces in the conversations from the first year that I started and into this last year, I wish I would have, because that would have been pretty impressive data to share. So in those conversations, we have had and built a committee around our schedule and looking at reviewing what our schedule is. What are the positive pieces about it? What are the drawbacks about it? Are there opportunities that we might be missing? Are there ways that we can be creative about our schedule to answer some of those things that we might say are problems or issues that we could work through? So our schedule review team did some work and looked. We looked at some other districts. We looked at comparisons. We looked at something called win time. We looked at our advisor time. We've talked about SEL pieces. And so we also looked at the number of students that we have in our building. And we do have the largest group of 8th graders currently that are moving to the senior high. So that's a little bit of the history piece. In our conversations, we prioritize some goals. We talked about our reading and math. We know that we have students that are going to be coming to our building that are going to have some need for some additional support, and our schedule isn't structured for us to do some of those things. So we knew that we needed to take a look. We know that we need to do some things with career and college readiness, even at the middle school level. Where does that fit in the day? We knew that we needed to look at balancing our hourly schedule. We had some periods that were 47 minutes, we had some periods that are 52 minutes, and we had a period that's 58 minutes. As a teacher, that's difficult. Having a structure and having a form and having sameness really matters. We talked about pod time. We talked about how are we strategic with how we're communicating and what we're communicating to students as far as announcements, as far as intercom pieces go. So we're looking at all of those overall goals. And we talked about how we could really, really shake some things up and how that might feel really scary. Then we also talked about how could we take some of the pieces and make it manageable. So we'll talk about what that's going to look like. We also discussed that change is difficult. And we needed to acknowledge that some of us are ready to do some things a little bit differently. Some of us aren't quite ready to do some things differently. And then some of us are in the middle of, I can see that this has some potential, but I have questions. I can see that there's good, but I'm also not sure how this is going to affect me as a teacher. And then how is this going to affect students as an overall? So we need to acknowledge that change is difficult, but we are also talking about how the change is going to be a supported plan. And when we talk about impact with students, it's not just going to benefit them. It's also going to be a win for us as staff members, because one of the pieces that continued to come up was about pod time and time to connect within our grade levels, to have conversations and to make plans for students that are in our class periods throughout the day. So we needed to acknowledge those things. So here's the exciting stuff. We are looking at our overall grand schedule. And so going back to the 8th grade being our largest group, then moving to the senior high, that's going to give us a little bit of flexibility within our schedule, because we have sections that are available in some places that have not been. Traditionally, CMS has had opportunities and electives related to fine arts. So our band, our choir, and then the third option has been enrichment or our study skills. Because we have some teachers that have been shared in 7th and 8th grade, or because they are in a unique field like FACS or art or our writer's workshop, because that larger group is moving forward, that opens up a section. So we're looking at this in a creative way. Are there other opportunities that we can offer to students using those staff to offer electives? So what we put together, and I shared with you a letter that went to families too. to explain is that now we have 4 elective opportunities or 4 elective areas. The first area is fine arts, so our band and choir will always exist. It's critical. So band and choir. Then our second option, we're calling a creative elective, which is our FACS option. So we have an additional FACS class that we're offering to students. We also have a media class, which would be like digital online work, podcasting, perhaps creating a business, a website that's surrounded with that. And then we have our CMS weekly program, which our 8th graders organically did on their own this year. And if you're not familiar with that, that is a video program that they do every week that showcases projects of the week, staff of the week, things that are going on, student interviews. And so that's been pretty cool. And it's cool enough that we need to infuse it and put it into what it is that we do and giving us students a choice for that. So fine arts creative elective, and then we have an active elective. We know that students need to move and groove, and we have some opportunities with our Phi Ed teachers to offer an additional competitive PE class. So they'll still have their regular required, but students who elect to have this additional one instead of having PE every other day would have Phi Ed every day. The 4th option for students who need to have the time and the extra access to work and homework would be to have their enrichment class every single day. So 4 options. The first 3 options would be every other day, and their opposite day is an enrichment class or a study skills class. So that still is going to exist. It's just going to give students opportunity to have choice, with enrichment always being the option. And I shared with staff too, and I shared with students when they registered for classes that if, let's say, their active Phi Ed, their competitive Phi Ed choice isn't going well, or if students aren't doing well in their classes, we might say, hey, it's not going well. We're going to put you back into enrichment every day. When you've taken care of the things that you need to be responsible for, now we can push you back into that. So it's a bit of an incentive and a goal to continue to work toward. They are classes that are graded academically. The enrichment would be the exception. That's always been a satisfactory or unsatisfactory grade. So that's the elective option that we're looking at for 7th and 8th grade students.
I have one question, I guess.
Yeah.
It's maybe not geared towards you as much as maybe it's geared towards Brian.
Yeah.
So like you said, you had that technology class where you do podcasting and all that kind of stuff. How does that translate to the high school? Do we have things in place for kids at the high school, or are they just going to do it at the middle school and it's going to be done?
We've added, and we'll offer every year a broadcasting class.
Okay.
For kids to do go down to their basketball game.
Yep.
And we have an education class, so we're kind of all on that same line.
Okay.
So it might help.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't want it like, hey, they have this elective here and then it's shut off once they get to the high school. I wouldn't want that to be.
It's in the same category.
Right.
Okay.
And so this media class is actually taught by a licensed language arts teacher. So within the realm of communication language arts, media would fall into that.
Yep.
So there's some cool things that she's going to do to create and to work with students. So that part of the elective is for 7th and 8th graders. What we're looking to do with our 6th graders, they're coming in brand new. Lots of things are changing for them. We're going to move all of our 6th graders to have their enrichment time structured 7th hour. And when they're all in the same time and all in the same space, now I'm a group of 6th grade teachers that has access to providing additional support to students as they are needing it. So if I'm Mr. Lindgren, 6th grade math teacher, I can say, hey, you're going to come on over to my group. We're going to be here in the next quarter and we're going to work on some math skills during this time. Yep, you still get time to do your homework, but we're going to do some intentional work because we'll have access to students all at one point. So those things are exciting. Our daily schedule. So this is a shift in some thinking of how we are looking at things. So going back to balancing hours, going back to the time to connect with staff members, the goal of moving from a junior high model more into a middle school realm. We are adjusting our daily schedule to continue to be 7 periods a day, but we are also going to look at shifting. We had previously had our day start with an advisor time, a 10-minute period of time. In talking with teachers, some felt that that was really a valuable time. Some also reported that it was 10 minutes that really was not productive. So with a goal of being productive, how do we move and shift so that we have time that's together and balanced out so we can make things connect and we can make it productive? So what we are going to do is during our lunch period, which had been 58 minutes, that extended time that I had said, we're moving and shifting some things to take that advisor time, to take that extra time, and to chunk together 30 minutes where we would have access to a smaller group of students as staff members. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect 2 days a week with a group of students. So I'm partnered with Mr. Lindgren. Okay, I'm a language arts teacher in 6th grade. Mr. Lindgren is my partner. 2 of the days of the week, I'm going to take my group of students and we're going to work together on career and college readiness pieces. We're going to have a curriculum that we'll follow. We're going to map that out. All of the students in 6th grade are going to spend time working on what their interests are, what their strengths are, and thinking about what future plans they could build into that. Likewise, same thing in 7th grade and same thing in 8th grade. So 2 days a week during those 30 minutes, they will do that. When I am not meeting with that group of students, then I am going to be meeting with my group of teachers for pod time. So in each one of the grade levels, there's 10 teachers, split it in half. 5 teachers are going to meet to do pod time work. They're going to plan out lessons for this work with career and college readiness. They're going to have time to communicate, to pull students from groups to say, hey, we need to talk about behaviors. Hey, we need to visit about what your goals are. Hey, you've been on the ineligibility list for 2 times now in a row. We got to make a plan. They're communicating with parents. They might be setting up invite-only conferences when those times in our year go together. They're going to use that time that's structured and planned so that they can get the job done. On the other side of it, if I'm not the teacher that's doing the career and college readiness, the other 2 days of the week, I'm going to be focused on reading and math interventions. So we're going to use a product and a tool that we already have in place. We're just going to use it better, and we're just going to be more strategic about that time. So each teacher is going to be in one of those 2 worlds. One will be in the career and college readiness. One partner on the other side is going to be in the academic end of things. So 2 days a week, students are going to be working on career and college readiness. 2 days a week, they're going to be doing some math, either acceleration or intervention, focused work on building skills at the grade level, or if they're below grade level. 5 days in a week, right? So there's 2 and there's 2. That middle day of the week, and I shared it with staff to be a Wednesday. Let's just say that it is. Wednesday would be the smaller group time that we would meet, so about 14 students, and that's when we would have our explicit SEL work. That's when we would be connecting on CMS weekly videos, when we would be doing some work that might be connected to grade level stuff, any kind of advisor pieces that we would connect to. That would be our plan during that time. So a schedule like this is going to balance out the hours. So everything is between 46 and 47 minutes. And why it's 47 is that those would be the couple of hours that would be when we would have announcements over the intercom. So that minute will get eaten up. Then we move right into our instruction time. So that's a midday plan around 4th hour because it works with what our lunches are. And it also allows us some access to some of our shared staff that might come here from the senior high or that might come to the senior high as well. So we're calling that wave time. And let's see. So in having conversations with teachers, our building leadership team and our schedule review team, when change happens, it feels scary. It feels maybe uncomfortable. So what can we do to prepare people for that? So our leadership teams have said, in order to do this, we have a goal to have the first quarter planned. We want to know, what are we going to be doing those 2 days of the week with career and college readiness? What are we going to be doing those other 2 days when we're talking about the reading and math work that we're going to do? What are we going to do when it comes to that advisor time? So we're going to spend some time this summer, and it might be me, it might be Mrs. Vetter. We have our culture club that does some of the work with our SEL. We're going to be building the first quarter with the intention that we're going to talk about, how is this working? How is this going? Is this something we move forward with exactly in this model for the first quarter and then move it into second quarter? Or do we shift and do we shake things out? Do we move kids and we say, hey, this is going to be the math group. We're going to move all of these kids math-wise in this direction. And we can shake and we can move things when we have access to the same grade level of students at the same time. It's difficult to do that in a regular 7-period day when students are moving and shaking in lots of different directions. So there are questions and some uncertainties, but we're laying out plans for how this is going to look. And we're talking about what those plans are going to look like too. Okay. So first quarter would be planned. We would have for our pod time, agendas and a schedule that our staff would be working on when they have access to their colleagues. We are asking that staff ask questions now and anticipate situations and scenarios. And then we're going to revisit and we're going to work to clarify. And part of our time in August is going to be spent on laying out and going through what those plans are so that teachers can feel safe and comfortable. And when students come for orientation, in August, we will talk to them not just about their schedule, but about what this time is going to look like. And I have a survey out for teachers to do some of those things, to ask those questions, to see what it is that they say that they need to feel successful when they come back in August. And our goal is always a calm and a student-focused place to be. And these shifts, I'm really excited to be able to share with you, and I'm excited to, and have enjoyed the conversations that I've had in my own building with the teachers that are doing the work. So, electives, wave time, and lots of good things going on at CMS.
So board members, questions for Jill?
Are the elective teachers involved at all in like the pod times or anything? like that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So our Phi Ed teachers will be a part of this, and
What
logic.
about like your fine arts and your art and your
Mhm.
shop and those?
Yes, the two staff members that are shared between the senior high and here, I'm looking at the times to see if it is appropriate for them to be able to get where they need to go, and then is also respecting the fact that they have hours and lunch that
Yep,
they need
no,
to have too.
I was
Yeah.
that was me, so I know.
Yeah,
But I just wanted to make sure that sometimes, it's not that I felt left out, but you kind of feel left out when you're going from building to building. You just
Absolutely.
Don't really have like a, and if you don't know what's going on with certain kids and stuff like that, and maybe it's not every day or once a week or something
Mhm.
like that, just to make sure that those ones are involved with some of those things.
the hardest job I would say in the district is to be a shared staff member. If you have to be in more than one building, you're not just an expert in one, you have to be in two, and it's hard.
Other comments, discussions? Tell me how you, you academically grade competitive Phi Ed.
Academically grade competitive Phi Ed.
Yeah.
It's gonna have the same standards and the same rubric that you would in a regular Phi Ed class.
So that's what.
It's just the game's gonna be upped. Yep.
Elevated, okay.
Yep, the game. So just an example. So let's say that they're doing some net sports and they're doing that in the fall. It's likely that they're going to have the same plan on their regular Phi Ed day. And then when they have, it's fourth hour. So then they come fourth hour. Now it's a different set of kids, and the level is, I want to be here. I'm choosing Phi Ed, so the game is going to be upped. Now there might be days, when they don't have nets and they don't have major setup, they might have a completely different activity that they're going on. Our Phi Ed teachers have also talked about maybe working some other wellness pieces in to that elective class too. So there's going to be a lot of newness. The teachers that are doing the elective classes are excited about that. And there's going to be some things that they're going to say that worked really well after the first year, or after the first quarter. And they're going to say, gosh, that didn't go out. But that's what we do as reflective educators. That's what we do. And we say, this is what the plan is going to be. And then we're going to figure it out as we go. And the next time we do it, and the next day, we're going to be better, because that's what we're here for.
With the electives, I guess my other question is, what is your plan if you have an abundance that sign up for the Phi Ed and only a couple that sign up for like the technology thing?
Yeah,
How do you
so
handle that?
love the question. Yeah, I was worried, not sleeping well on that, but I got the numbers, registration came through. So my plan was to, if, let's say we had this, because we have to cap, we can't have 100
Yep.
kids in a gym. So we had the conversation with elective teachers to say, what is kind of the magic number? What's the most you're going to let me do in this situation? So we were below the cap for Phi Ed, but I was thinking, oh, what if we have 80, what if we have 100 kids that are wanting to be in Phi Ed? How are we going to do this? We laid out with students, 8th grade will have priority. They've never had elective options, so 8th grade are going to be number one. Number two would be, how does the lunch shift shake out? And number three is if you're in 7th grade, and then number four was how they had to rate every one of the choices that they were going to have. So the other plan is that if I had all of these extra kids that were choosing to have, let's say it was 100, then I would have shifted in another elective person into an enrichment class, and we could have found a way to manage so that one of their days, an A day, for example, is a media elective. And then the next day would be an enrichment day. So we could have found a balance to make that work. And yesterday when I pulled the numbers and looked, we're right at where the caps are. So, yeah,
For this year.
for this year.
For that.
I know.
Any
Yeah.
other questions?
I have, just, I want to make sure I heard something right and then
Yeah.
the question. So you said during wave time that the kids, if they're not doing college readiness or like catching up on reading or math or anything like that, they could do advanced things. Does that include all grades? Like, how does that work? So like a student's excelling, like, is instead of like working on their reading or math, are they going to be able to be challenged maybe there when they weren't able to be challenged before?
That's the goal that we're gonna get to, but within, so, I'll just use iExcel as an example. It's one that we're familiar with. We're already paying for that product. We probably aren't using it the best that we could.
Mhm.
Now, that's not to say that that's what the specific pieces that we'll land on and decide. But iExcel is an example of that. You can take a diagnostic test and it will put you into where you are.
Mhm.
So if you are below grade level, it will build those skills. If you are above, it will do that too. So we can start with that. I would say that it's going to be not as dynamic as if we were able to shuffle some kids around for specific acceleration.
Yeah,
But the possibility is there
okay.
for us to be able to do those things
Yeah.
as teachers work through and see how this can piece together.
Okay.
There's a real value to me in things being school-wide and being same, because then I know what you are doing, you know what I am doing. We are holding ourselves accountable as teaching staff, and we're also able to hold the students accountable for what it is that we want them to be able to produce
Mhm.
and to learn while they're in that space during that time.
Okay, and then what, like, so I get all of them in the wait time. What would like the SEL practices be? Like, I don't know a lot about what that would include in the wave time.
Yep, so that might be, let's say it's a 10-minute portion. Let's say it's a video that we share and it happens to be about self-awareness or about taking responsibility for our actions. So we might show a short video clip. We might even have CMS create something, or CMS Weekly create something that connects to the next lesson. So we show that video, then we're going to have some discussion with our group of 14 students about, tell me how you've shown responsibility in the last week. Give me an example from home. Okay, let's write about it. Let's share it with our partner.
Okay.
How could you have done that? You know, to ask those kinds of questions, to take ownership, or, hey, there's an example that happened in the lunchroom. You know, what happened in the lunchroom yesterday about, you know, feelings or regulating, oh, they ran out of the food. I was so upset, you know, giving some of those specific things and then putting themselves in the situation.
Okay.
So that's one thing that could be done during that time.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Good job.
absolutely.
Good things to come.
Yes, I'll share more.
All right, let's continuing, moving on. Let's no items in 4, 5. Looks like we're gonna go to items 4.1, number 6, mental health teams. So Jennifer and Aaron, you're gonna update us on some crisis plans. The floor is yours.
I'm gonna try to share this mic here. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to share some really great news. Nancy, would you scroll up just one to the, I just want, in front of you, you have a copy of their 2 documents, and we're gonna talk about those a little bit later. Aaron's gonna lead that portion, but you also have a copy, a visual of our mental health team. Okay, this is really, really important. The people that exist on that team are not just our employees here in the East Grand Forks Public Schools. They include our partners through ASEC, our school psychologists. They also include our therapists from Aluma, our skills workers. And I wanted to say that I was very grateful for the work that this team put in over a substantial amount of time to come up with this plan. And in addition, I wanted to thank the district, the administrators, and Mr. Kolness for giving us a set aside PLC team time. So when we have those early releases, the mental health team has worked very difficult. This is not the only thing we've accomplished. We've accomplished a lot over the last 2 years, but it's one of the big things. And in order for us to grow as professionals and continue to put good products and good guidance for the district, we need that time to work together collectively and collaboratively. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So wanted you to have that nice visual. Credit to Katie Clevin, who is gifted in this area. So really trying to use the strengths of our team, knowing that we're all very different and have different skills. And I've been inspired by the collective, I guess, the collective efficacy of the ability for us to really get very good things done for the East Grand Forks Public Schools using the strength of all our members. And then I'm gonna so that's just for your reference. If you ever had any questions for us, if you want to know who these people are, what they do, please reach out to us. My door is always open to you. And then we're gonna scroll up, Nance. We're gonna go into just a little bit deeper dive now to talk about the two documents in front of you.
Hello, my name is Erin Terpstra, and I am one of the high school counselors here at the high school. This is my 4th year as a high school counselor and 9th year total. And so I definitely enjoyed being on the mental health team this year, and I've watched it grow throughout my 4 years here. It's doubled in size, which I really appreciate working as a team. But coming together, working as a team, we knew that we needed to have these crisis plans in place so that we could be consistent across the whole district. So there are 2 documents. And just some things to remember first, that we will review these plans every year as a mental health team to update them, to see how they're working. If we need to make changes, we'll do that and share with the administration. And we as a mental health team will always be available to answer questions if anybody has anything. So please reach out to us. Please read through the documents or just look at them so that as a school board, you guys understand how mental health works and how we can work together as a team and support students in these areas and support our staff. And yeah, number 4, we're our team. So, okay, Nancy, you can scroll down. So we have 2 documents. There are 2 green folders in front of you. One is a death and loss crisis plan or district response plan. And that's how the district would respond if in the case of losing a staff member, losing a student, losing somebody who is really important to our district. And then the second response plan is a suicide prevention, identification, and intervention plan. So 2 different plans, and we adopted this plan from a neighboring district and used it and changed it to fit our district since we're a little bit smaller. So the first, I'll do the suicide prevention, identification, and intervention plan first. Just how it'll be utilized. This document is really for mental health staff members and administration. Also letting teachers know how to handle students who share they have suicide ideation or suicide thoughts. But really it's for mental health staff to know how to consistently have a standard protocol of how to identify students, how to train our teachers, how to let them know that we are here to support the teachers because they're usually the first ones that hear about it. So letting them know we're here to support you as a teacher. Let us know if a child needs help. And then how we intervention. Yeah.
Question on that. So when you say you're here to help the teachers, how are the teachers educated? Are they just given this and say, here you go? Or how does that look?
There's a couple, 2, 3 things that we've done. We've educated our entire staff on suicide prevention and mental health as part of the professional development plan for this school year. So teachers had the choice to attend that. It's part of our licensure requirement under PELSB. In addition, we are going to do something in the fall to further educate them in terms of what do they do, but we don't want teachers to feel like they're in this alone. They're already doing this, folks. They're already doing this. So when a child's in distress, any kind of distress, not just suicidal ideation, they are coming to their mental health team. If they're not coming to us, if they see the principal first, then we're getting called in. And then what we've done a really good job of, which I'm very proud of, because this was feedback that I received, is that teachers weren't communicated back what our action steps were. And I think that's really important because at the elementary, they're with the student all day long. At the middle and high school, they still know that student, they still care about that student. And so we then loop back and say, here's what we've done. These are the steps we've taken. And then if we have to have some sort of safety protocol or reentry, if a child is hospitalized, those teachers are a part of those meetings now. So we don't just we sometimes have challenges when we don't know kids are coming back, but we're working on that. But most of the time, we work with our providers in the community to let us know so we can create a plan when a young person has been hospitalized, how we re-enter, and the teacher is always a part of that. So not pressure for them to feel like they have to do something, but more to feel supported and understood and that they're a part of our team. So we're going to go into a little bit of a deeper look and questions with them in the fall because we just finished this. And then Aaron, we did meet with all the administrative team prior to our time with you, which was a much deeper meeting where we dug into the document, we walked through the document because this is a living document that cannot live on a shelf. This is when things happen, our administrative team, our mental health team, this is guidance. So they have to know what to do, how to do it, because these are best practices. This is research-based. And so it has to be living and breathing in our district. We're not just kind of doing things willy-nilly. This is consistent from K-12 all the way through. So that meeting went very, very well with our admins. They were very appreciative. They had excellent questions. They took it seriously. We spent over 2 hours going through the document. So I know that's kind of a little bit longer answer, but
No, as long as,
Okay.
like I said, that they have opportunities, and I think just getting them back the information as to how things are going,
100%.
and hey, this is where we are with this kid. That information is vital for a teacher.
100%.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I feel like that maybe wasn't shared the best. And I don't know if we could or not at one time, but
Okay. And then the death and loss one.
Oh, yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, just a little bit about the second document, death and loss. Really, again, guided documents to help really administrators know how to process and how to handle it with working with a third building. Knowing what to say to family members, knowing how to contact family members. Because really it's family members first and it's their choice of how they want us to share if they experience a death and loss in their family. And so there's a lot of pre-written statements that will help an administrator. And then an administrator will be able to let teachers know how to help their students if it affects the classroom or students as well. Any
So
questions?
that was,
Yeah.
that was, feedback. Sometimes, when we are working hard behind the scenes to care for people in crisis, it might look from the outside like nothing's being done. But I will assure you, having been in all buildings across this district and a part of probably 99% of the crises that have happened, that people are doing the right thing. They're being thoughtful in what they do. They're caring for kids. They're communicating with families. They're working with their administrators. So we work really hard to do that. And we take that very, very seriously when people are hurting or we've had a loss or a death of any kind. Or even if we just have a young person in a mental health crisis. So,
You'd mentioned earlier, Aaron, on the death and loss one. You put some specifics, talk about students and somebody important, but this also affects if we have like a younger grade and a loss of a sibling or something like that.
Yes,
This would still be the same document that
Yep.
that administrative team would follow and engage everybody. Okay.
yeah, excellent question. I don't know, Mr. Colness and I just visited just briefly. I don't know if I think there was going to be maybe discussion just if this has to be an actual policy or if it's just because it's crisis related, this just gets adopted. I'm not as well versed on that. That's not my area of expertise, but
Well, I think you guys have done the work.
yeah,
we
it's,
can-
yeah,
We can sort that out. We won't take
Okay.
action on it.
right,
tonight.
right, for sure not,
Certainly
yeah.
not saying,
Yeah.
hey, it's done. Well, just what we can visit and decide
Sure.
if it needs.
Yeah.
Just make sure what it has to officially be adopted.
Right, or just standard protocol kind of
it's just
thing.
a when we say policy, it's a policy that the mental health team utilizes.
Right, absolutely.
So I think there's different levels of policies.
Sure.
I'll work with Mike and we'll just.
Whatever-
we'll
whatever's-
identify that and.
Yeah.
And if it needs to go to the next board meeting and actually have
sure.
official approval.
Yeah.
We'll do that, but for now, I mean, you've shared with us what you're gonna do. I think now we'll open up to board members for additional comments or questions. Well, I guess I'm assuming you guys are done.
Yes.
Yes, yes, and like we said, we will, trust me, a heavy lift, so we are very happy with what we have there, and I was just on a larger Zoom call with other mental health practitioners around suicide around the state of Minnesota, and they actually took some of our documents and some of our things as best practices across the state. We all know that under the suicide prevention intervention piece, there's a significant increase for our young people who experience suicidal ideation, who complete suicide. It's a very serious thing. And we do want to do all the work on the prevention end. And that's also incredibly important to us. That's where we put our heart and soul, but we also want to do the absolute right thing when a young person is experiencing it and it's very serious. And how we partner with our parents, how we communicate with our parents has to be consistent. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud of our team for the work we've done around this. And our district should be too, because it's good to have this in place. So.
I was actually gonna ask a question about, so I haven't had a chance to read this because we just
Right,
got it.
right.
But I was gonna ask, like, for the suicide, especially prevention one, like, what is the level of family involvement? Like, cause I hear you guys talked a lot about like the school and stuff, but that's only 8 hours a day. The kids are at home or wherever. The rest of the time, like, how are we helping the families in events like this or situations like
That,
this?
I'm glad you asked that, Amanda. That's a really excellent question. So part of our protocol is we do the Columbia suicide. It's just a rating scale. That's where we just kind of ask very serious questions. Have you have thoughts of killing yourself? Yes or no? And, we do it in a much more gentle way, but I'm just saying there's an evidence-based screening tool that we use. And then we add additional comments. We have an additional tool we use on top of it. If any of those things are endorsed, parents are getting a phone call from us. If it's endorsed to a high level of risk, we ask the parents to come to school, to sit down with us, to talk about what's going on. I'm sorry, but your daughter's expressing that she's had these thoughts, that she has a plan, that she knows how she's going to do it, and she's thinking about doing it tonight. We will never allow a child to ever go home and leave this place if we know that without contacting the parent. So serious that we hold the kid until the parent comes in. And then we sit down face to face. Then we say, here are your community options. Here's what you can do. We have them sign a document to let both parties know that those things have been discussed. And then we extend and help and support and the family engagement and what's available in the community. Can we get them in with Illuma? Can we do this? Can we do that? And then we follow those kids all the way. We're every day that they're in our building or not, they are of utmost importance to us along with all the other kids. So those parents are our partners. And I guess my experience both in this district and outside of this district is parents are deeply appreciative of the conversation and the care that we give them when their child is in crisis.
So I'm not gonna pretend to be a mental health professional, but
Sure.
I would like to know, I'm thinking from a parent perspective.
Right.
If those tools were even used on my kid,
Mhm.
I would like to know that.
Sure. And so when a child, like what will happen sometimes in real time is a teacher will say, Johnny's saying he's going to kill himself. And they'll bring him down and then we have to have a conversation. So then we have to go through like, tell me about what was going on. Are you having thoughts of death? Are you having thoughts of killing yourself? We have to ask that in that moment because if I don't ask that question and I let that child go back to class or do something, I have to do that right there and then. But then,
Regardless of those answers.
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and if I called a parent, I'd say, using this document that our district has adopted,
Yes,
I've been trained on the Columbia suicide model.
right.
This is what I found out. So, and we can use Illuma as well. Illuma has a crisis team always in place. If I need some assistance or some support, I can call the crisis team and they can come in and do their own evaluation from a mental health practitioner perspective. And that same person, the parent has to approve that I'm calling the crisis team to have them come in.
Right.
That's their protocol. So working together with community members and parents that we figure out what the best way to support a child in that moment is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But
So a
that's
phone
great.
call would be made either way. So like, let's say they filled it out the Columbia
Yep.
survey and it was fine, but the student still said that. Would a phone call still be made to the parent?
Yes, it's a screener. There's 5 basic questions. And even when we have a kid that says, yeah, well, I just say that when I get angry. Okay. We're still communicating with our parents to say, this child came to me today. The teacher was very concerned. I asked these questions. Now he says he's kidding, And it doesn't look like he's endorsed this, but I want to share that with you.
Okay.
Like, we always err. I mean, I'm super transparent. You know this about me in our work here, but I'm calling parents. I am calling parents because I've never had any parent be upset when I call because I'm being really open about what's going on. So it's not a secret.
Yeah, so is that like in here somewhere or is
Yes,
it, so
yes,
it is in here? Okay, so everyone is supposed to follow the exact same.
Yes,
standard.
they understand. Everybody is, and we've studied this and worked on this and talked about this and reflected on it, and we'll continue to do so as we go through this process. So, absolutely.
Are we to the point now that we have something like this in in place? Do you feel that teachers themselves will go to the team and let the team handle it with teachers being a stakeholder? Teachers aren't just gonna call, hey, I got a concern about little Johnny. So the training is being done, going back to the past question on how teachers are involved.
Yep.
They're being trained now that, hey, this resource is
Yep.
is available.
Yep.
If you feel goes here, we'll still keep you involved,
Yeah.
but okay.
Yep. And we're gonna talk to them about this policy and procedure in the fall, but they do a phenomenal job of finding us, and we like to call it a soft handoff, because it's not like, oh my God, I got this kid, and it's like, okay, Sherry's having a hard time. This is what she said to me in class. Could you visit with her? Absolutely. And then we follow up.
Okay.
So they're already doing a phenomenal job. It's just now, even for our mental health team, we have a really good guidance for us and our administrators. So yeah, the teachers are doing fantastic, and they know where to go, and they utilize us very well.
Other,
And I can contest to that too, because I've actually seen that work with being involved in school and stuff. So I've seen teachers involved in that process.
Thank you, Josh.
anything else, board members, questions, comments? Well, great job, ladies. Like I said, I'll follow up with the superintendent. We'll see officially if we need to adopt it and
Or whatever level. It just, I
Yep.
want to make sure it's somewhere.
yep, absolutely. All right, let's move on to, we'll go directly into 4.2 committee reports. So Superintendent Colness, got a couple updates for us?
Yeah, just a couple of things. The Facilities Committee met yesterday, met with representatives from the city, Park and Rec, and really the primary topic of discussion was the CMS Sports Complex. So first step, we have some tasks that we need to take care of before we get back together here. We're hoping within the next 4 to 6 weeks, we can get back together, but the goal is to come up with some short and long-term plans in order to upgrade that facility. It's, we don't have bathrooms out there. We don't have, so there's no sewer. It's limited water, power is questionable. And, we're making some upgrades, but we just think that that's a facility that's used a lot. And by both the school and the city, and, upgrading that, there's a definite need there. So we also talked about potential revenue sources and what we could do to, find some funding down the road to help with some upgrades. So we'll be planning to get back together. The Policy Review Committee, we probably should get together in June, but I would wait until MSBA puts those model policies together from this recent legislative session. So kind of have that in your brain, that if we can somehow get together between maybe June 15th and before I depart on June 30th, it would be a good idea to go through those potential changes. And then negotiations, you're gonna have to start getting prepared here, or if you haven't already, to meet with, we have 3 groups for sure, and potentially a 4th one that could open up for this year due to the change in the general ed formula. But the state leaders that were on our call this morning said, be cautious about getting together too early, because there are so many unanswered questions with the changes here that we want to make sure we're on, solid ground before we start talking about changes to a master agreement. So that's all I have from the committee side.
Questions, comments on the committee? I'll add to that. I was gonna say this at the end of comments. Last board meeting, we made the decision to suspend the superintendent search as delegated to the negotiations committee. We're still in the process, meeting with licensed staff and or recommended in terms from MSBA. So we're not gonna bring any recommendations tonight. I will just give you a heads up, and I'm gonna talk about it in comments. I'm feeling that we're gonna try to schedule a special meeting in the near future here. So, but on top, that's just the update on what the negotiation committee has been up to. But what I would suggest, I'm not on all the committees, but if the board is in agreement, I think really a lot of our committees, besides the ones that are active, the negotiation committee is actively working on you know, finding an interim, bringing a recommendation to the board for approval of an appointment. But as Mike said, the policy and negotiations, I think it's very prudent for us to hold off at least a month. We have some work to do. Everybody up here has to read the document that was provided regarding legislative stuff, but I'm just gonna echo one more time from the legislative side. I think we gotta take a pause here. We gotta take a pause. We have to review that stuff before we get engaged in moving policies forward and getting into negotiations. Things have to be done. It's been requested to be done. And those that are on those specific committees, we can communicate that. So negotiations, for example, somebody that is a group that has reached out and said, we're ready to negotiate, those communications will happen. But I think that just needs, if we want to have a discussion about it, so be it. But those are my thoughts. We got to pause a little bit because we got some learning to do of our own. Just my thoughts.
No, I don't disagree.
No, there's a lot of reading to be done.
A lot of things to look at.
All right. So with that being said, let's move right into 5.0, the consent agenda. Anyone, first, anybody want anything to be pulled? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions or discussion? I didn't pull it, but Nancy, did you find out how long Shirley's been here? Okay, so Shirley Enright's on as a paraprofessional, retiring at essentially the end of the school year. So thank you for your long service to the district. We know paras, we've talked about it several times. Paras are vital, no different than any of our other staff members, and no doubt she's had an impact on several students that have come through this district. So congratulations to her and thankful to her. So with that being said, all that are in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 6.0 is opportunities for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda. I do not have any. Superintendent Colness.
I received no requests.
Okay. Let's move on to 7.0 to approve the agenda. I have no additions unless anybody
Nope, the
else.
technology purchase
Oh,
was
no,
added
yes.
earlier, so we should be good. Yep.
That's, you added that on here,
Yep.
correct? Which one do we have that on? Nancy, that's 8.3? Okay.
0.3, yep.
So, with no additions, I'm gonna move the agenda to be approved as presented, board book.
A second.
Okay, questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda is uploaded in board book signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.0 is district business. 8.1 is to approve the 2023-24 resolution for membership in MSHSL, so the Minnesota State High School League. And for those new board members, this is not just athletics. So it's everything that's represented underneath that league. So lots of stuff. So I'll entertain a motion for.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, so it's the resolution. Nancy, we call a roll, please. Well, first, any questions or discussion?
Yeah, so I don't know a lot about it, but in order to do a lot of the things that high schools do and schools do, you have to be a part of this in Minnesota, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
We have to be a member school.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we have to follow certain rules that they have in
Yes.
order
Yes.
to
Yes.
be a part of it.
Yes, correct.
Nancy, would you call a roll, please? Yes.
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 All right, motion carries unanimously. 8.2 is the sale of unused equipment and vehicles. Got some things we need to sell. So Superintendent Colness?
Yeah, it's just, we need to have formal approval by the board. There is we might have some buses that we could potentially, move on and, maybe a pickup, an older pickup that we still used over the winter, but it's definitely served the district well. So, and some other things that, if Ron has out in the shop that he would like to move on, but we just need formal approval to auction those off. And I won't give you a detailed list. we will have items. So.
Anybody?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? It's gonna be done K-bid or?
Yeah, okay.
Whatever, whatever.
K-bids work pretty well, so they seem to do a good job for us.
All those in favor of approving the sale of unused equipment and vehicles signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.3 is to approve the 2023-24 technology purchases. We were given that update in the superintendent's notes that he shared with us. So looks like we're gonna save a little bit of money and get what we're still looking for. So entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion on
I have-
purchase?
Question.
Go ahead.
Like, how often do we get new machines for the students?
For the students, right now, we've been purchasing about 300 Chromebooks a year, and they go to 2 different grade levels.
Okay,
And we try to keep those up to 5 years if we can.
So we're
So-
pretty close, I think, and I don't mean to jump in, but
Yeah.
we're pretty close. We must be close to 5 years of everybody having.
Yeah,
a device
it's
now,
pretty
five,
close, yeah.
right?
And some of them only had a 4-year warranty on them. The ones that they're recommending, we're not buying those tonight, the Chromebooks. This is just the Apple purchase. But those Chromebooks will be coming forward.
this is just for the staff computer.
Correct. This is just the staff computers. I believe it's 43,000 or
41,000.
41,000. That is just for the 50 new Apple computers that would be for staff. And they're the last group in the rotation. We've had 4 purchases, and so we should be good for staff machines for another year or 2. But the ones that they've had have definitely, it's time.
But then the rotation will start again.
We probably will wait a year or 2 to
Right,
because
but
they,
then-
yep,
Then it starts.
yep. So, but we should be up to snuff with all of our staff machines after this purchase.
Other questions, board members, on the computer purchase? All right, all those in favor of approving the 23-24 technology purchases signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 8.3 is to, wait a second, that's a typo. 8.4, accept donations to the school district.
I will make a motion to accept the following donations. A donation from Little Miracles to the senior high for girls soccer in the amount of $300. A donation from East Grand Forks Sports Boosters to the senior high for boys track, the Free Lap Pro, in the amount of $1,723. A donation from East Grand Forks Sports Boosters to the senior high for girls track, the Free Lap Pro, in the amount of $1,723. And a donation from miscellaneous donors to the senior high for pack lighting in the amount of $65. Total donations to be accepted tonight are $3,811.
I'll second.
All right, questions or discussions? Certainly, thank you to all those individuals and all those in favor of approving the donation signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 is payment of claims and accounts.
I'll move to approve the payment of K-12 bills numbers 124,820 through 124,945 in the amount of $447,789.79.
A second.
All right, any questions on the bills that have been uploaded in the board book? Okay, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 10.0 is board member comments. All right, Eric,
No comments tonight.
Josh?
Oh, yeah, I actually do have something, and I know it's a struggle, but it's on the busing stuff,
Mhm.
especially with the middle school activities. I know that, middle school activities in the fall were canceled a lot. I know that they were canceled a lot, road games, in the spring. Unfortunately, it hasn't been like a Title IX issue, but the boys seem to have bus drivers on their academic teams that are coaches for the most part. So a lot of their teams is what can go places. I know that's a struggle for the girls at times to go on road games. And I know that they've had a lot of games that have been canceled. Volleyball games have been canceled, softball games have been canceled. Is there any, and I get it, but is there anything that the school can do, and this is just my question, to allow parents to transport kids?
I would say potentially.
Yeah, and that's kind of because it doesn't look like the school bus situation is gonna get any better overnight. And it's probably not gonna get much better by the fall. And if there are if it's a waiver or something like that, that allows kids to still be able to participate in those activities instead of canceling them, because the potential of, well, we can't even get middle school kids here, so then why would we even schedule you next year to do stuff? And it's not just sports activities, but other activities as well, whatever it might be. If they're missing out on those activities, you're gonna start losing interest in kids in those activities if they're not allowed to go and do those things.
So can we take that comment to Lieutenant Colness and just run with that, maybe give you direction to, work with, the district attorney to see what we can come up with, and I guess my guess is that, or my wish is that would go back to the policy committee, certainly, but if you.
And I obviously, school buses is the number one, right? That's the number one. So that would take care of everything. But if it's not, I don't want, it'd be a shame to allow kids to miss out on certain things. If we can't find buses, no, a kid can't do an activity. That doesn't seem fair to them. Especially if you have parents that are willing to raise their hand and say, hey, we'll get them.
There are some differences of opinion with that
Yep.
whole, and
Yep.
it's a slippery slope. We know we were told for many years that that was a big time no-no.
Yes.
There are districts that are stepping into the water. I don't know if it's really, if there's been any court cases when liability comes up
Yep.
with any, so,
And that's why I just brought it up as a.
Yeah.
What
So-
what can we do to?
there are
Still
some
help these
districts that are
kids.
starting to, use that a little bit, probably, but it's,
It's
Yeah.
a great, it's a very.
Yeah.
Sketchy area,
At
but
least we can look into it, because
Yeah.
as I think,
we would all like to get more drivers and, I think too that some of the, we talked to the coaches over the years about, we really don't want you to miss activities. We encourage you to get your bus license if you can. It's not always fair to have them drive, we do have about 4, maybe 5 staff members that have their bus license, but it's not always easy for them to
so,
go as well.
and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Is there incentives that we can help coaches push them to that? I know some of them may not want to be a bus driver, but is there incentives that could come along that, hey, we have staff members that, since now you're coaching, is that this another thing that could
I would say-
incentivize that?
I'm gonna answer that one, and that's been negotiated in the contracts. So-
We do compensate our coaches that are
Right.
required to have a license to pay, so.
No, as far as like a bus driver's license, like
Oh.
you have to drive a bus now to get students here, like that's that part of it.
No, I would say we don't have anything like that. We have the incentives within the contracts where,
Yeah.
an individual does this, they get the extra pay and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's something to, we are coming up with, to negotiations. We know that there is,
And I'll be honest, I don't want to get a driver's license. I'll be, I'll be honest with you, but, so, I'm just.
But,
gonna-
in all reality, there are places where they really have to,
Right,
and
Has
that's,
the thought of increasing the fees to play sports to get a bus like Dietrich or someone else to run? the
it's
kids?
not about, they're just not there.
yeah.
Not even.
We,
Yeah, it's
we
not about-
contract out,
yeah.
we've had bus services from
Yeah.
all over, from Moorhead out, Bemidji.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're just not available.
not a money issue. It's just.
It's just
Yeah,
no
so,
one wants.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But I
very
think we need to, I think it's a good point. We need to think outside the box. To
Right,
see- to
something.
see, make sure everybody's getting, we're all across, all across.
We've increased our, like our fleet, we've got another 14 passenger. Those give us more flexibility because we can actually drive those without a bus driver's license. For an activity, you have to go through type 3 training. That gives, so you could take, for example, Josh, you could take that and a Suburban and haul 20
Yep.
kids.
Well,
right? So we're just trying to find ways to think outside the box and be more creative, not have to have a bus license.
and I know it's and maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth here, but at some point in time, I remember it was required to have that as a coach, like I was required, and now I haven't been pushed to get that. But I haven't needed it, but I know when I was a spring sport and a fall sport coach, I was required to have that.
We just put that in for non-teacher union people. So Josh, you're gonna get yours. That's mandatory now.
Perfect. Thanks for bringing that
I-
up.
You're not, a
I think, I really think.
you're not a part of a bargaining unit. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, yeah.
We just have
Perfect.
to continue to do our due diligence. We
Yeah.
know that we have an issue. all of us have heard from parents up here. I
Yep.
can Speak for the whole board.
Yep.
On some of these.
And I've got a kind of a comment at the end here too.
Not
Yeah.
that anybody's doing anything wrong. So any other comments, Josh?
No, that's good.
Lindsay?
I have a couple. With these plans in place now, did we not have anything like this before this? Or
I would
did
say they're not as formal as this. or-
Not this inclusive.
We
and-
probably had some procedures, but nothing like this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm excited to look through that. And then I have another question because we have this K-5 class size information form here that we didn't hit on in any of our discussions or reports, but just looking at some of the decisions being made for a number of sections, and while we know enrollment has gone down, we know that behaviors and needs have gone up. So just wondering if this was just missed or if we didn't have that conversation in this meeting.
Missed about,
Oh, well, this is,
those are tentative numbers, you know,
Okay.
so just those are scenarios.
okay.
Yeah.
It just
The
usually.
one
when
thing
we get-
about, you know, when we start, if we add sections, you know, something's got to give when you're talking about your budget, right? I mean, when you're losing students, your budgets, you're gonna have to decrease staff members. That's our number one asset, but they're also our number, you know, that's 80% of the budget. So we try to look at that. We understand there are certain classes that might have higher needs, but, you know, in looking at those numbers, you know, 22, I mean, we're looking at this. It's not like nothing's in, you know, stone here.
Sure.
But we need to take a look to also be fiscally responsible. But we have added a ton of staff over the last 3 to 4 years, and not saying they're not needed. You know, but when we think about like our special ed staff in the last 5 years in our elementaries is close to double, at least when I came on board, as well as our mental health team. So we're trying to provide a lot of resources and support outside the classroom, but we have to figure out a way to fund those as well.
So with their question, don't mean to jump onto your question on the numbers that, I mean, these are potential numbers, but the district administration is thinking outside the box. And I mean, I'm getting where your question is. These numbers are getting close to maybe a little bit too.
Yeah.
A little high in a lot of.
We've always tried, you know, and when you look at the numbers from other districts, right? Normally you try to keep that kindergarten number around 20, if you can. 20 is, you know, K through 1, we try to keep 20, maybe we get to 21. As they get into grades 3, 4, and 5, you'll see districts that some of them are as high as 25, 26. We've tried to keep it below, you know, if we can keep it at 22, 23 and below, that's kind of been the, you know, number that we worked with, and our class sizes are, you know, they're not high. However, we do have more needs than we've had in the past, and we understand that, so.
Yeah.
we're
And
worth-
that's just kind of was my.
And we,
weakness.
and we have some potential moves internally that we could make if we have, you know, we've added staff even after school started.
Mhm.
You know, we don't like doing that, but sometimes you do just because you might have 10 kids moving in one grade,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I just didn't, this was in front of us and we didn't touch on it, so I just wanted to ask about it, but yeah, just seeing some of the numbers looking a little high if we start cutting down on teachers. And while I understand that we have to always have the budget in mind, if we have high needs, we're gonna look at adding more support staff or something, you know what I mean? It's gonna come from somewhere, you know, the money is gonna need to come from somewhere. If we have too many kids and too many behaviors and things like that. So I don't know. I just didn't know if we were gonna talk about it today because this form was here. But that's it. That's all I have to say.
Amanda?
Yeah, I'll continue the conversation, Lindsay, because I was approached about third grade a little bit ago being 7 sections and now being turned into 6 sections with the current needs of second grade, soon to be third grade. I don't think as a district, yes, money is important, but it's not more important than the education of our kids because that is why we're here. If we have to have 7 sections, whether we're not doing it because of money, I think as a district, my comment tonight is the money shouldn't go over the kids' education, and having large class sizes with high needs doesn't give the kids the proper education, I don't think. My 2 cents for my comments. I'm done.
I'm the one who asked for these numbers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
thank
That's why.
So sorry about that.
No, that's. okay. happy
We
to
had a
let me-
good conversation. Dave.
Yeah, we had a good conversation. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
so.
No, I just,
Um,
usually when we have something in front of us, we touch on
Yeah.
it, so I.
It came up as a concern, so that's
Yeah.
why I put together the information.
So the school year is wrapping up, so thanks to all the teachers and administrators that are getting us through the last little bit here. Graduation, we haven't even hardly talked about that. That's exciting on Friday. And congratulations to Shirley. And plug for bus drivers.
My comments certainly, thank you to everybody for the school year says, I'll echo those comments. Congratulations to the seniors, and every year we congratulate the seniors, but I forget to congratulate the kindergartners that graduated, that are entering the school system.
Two graduations.
So congratulations to those little shavers too. I talked a little bit earlier. We're most likely going to have a special meeting. More to come on that. We've talked a little bit about structure within the district. I am working directly with MSBA on not how structure looks, but where those discussions happen. First things first is we need to get an interim superintendent on board. And more to come after that. But with that being said, I can bounce in to 11.0 and say I'm gonna bounce to 11.0 and say the next Board of Education meeting scheduled for the 12th. My ask of this group is if everybody would look at their calendars and kind of just give me some availability on what they have within the next, it's Memorial Day. So, let's just throw out a couple different times out there. It would be a special meeting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So you're thinking maybe the week of the 5th?
Well,
Or
How about
the
Before that.
second.
Next
It'd have to
Wednesday?
be before that.
I'm looking at least one option would be next Wednesday. Certainly, no, wait, would that be the 31st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, either next Wednesday, or Thursday, or something the week of the 5th.
I'm good with Wednesday.
I'm better with Thursday.
On the 1st, okay,
Let me look.
everybody else.
I gotta look.
Either.
And I'm not saying that, and I'll do what I always do and make a phone call and say, hey, this is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to lay it on the table that
Yeah.
we're gonna have a special meeting coming. There's gonna be a meeting before, I think the negotiation group is confident in the fact that we're not gonna wait till the 12th.
No.
Till we have an official school board meeting to bring a recommendation back to the board. It's going to be before that. We still have some due diligence to do, some work to do. So ideally, if we could at least say tonight, it's gonna be next Wednesday or next.
Thursday's the last day of school. Just everybody remember that, if that throws
That's-
anything in.
That's,
I can
So
do
kids,
I
yeah.
can do Wednesday. I just can't we often do 5 o'clock for special meetings. I
I mean,
couldn't
let's
do
talk
it,
about that.
so-
They don't have to,
They don't have to be at 5.
Okay,
No.
it's gonna be a special meeting. We can do it in the morning. We
I
can
can
do
do
it whenever you guys want.
Yeah.
I could do 5:30 Wednesday, but I can't do any earlier than that.
I mean, the bottom line is, officially, we've always done it at 5:30. This is gonna be a special meeting. It's gonna have one item on the agenda. I'm guessing that may want to attend, but it's also, we've been very open, we're transparent. It's available, on the website. So if we need to have a 7 o'clock meeting, if we need to have a noon meeting, whatever we need to do to have a meeting, I'm willing to entertain that. So
Fine
let's
with
just
5:30.
have that conversation here.
I think that morning and noon meetings make it really hard for people that want to come. So even if we're able to stream it or whatnot.
But again, it's a special meeting. There's zero comments,
Oh, true.
anything like that. So the only thing in a special meeting is us talking up here.
Correct.
So
Okay.
what'll happen in a meeting such as this is a recommendation or discussion and then a vote.
Moving on.
Okay.
So that's why I say I'm a little bit, I think we can be a little bit more flexible with this one. Yes, we want the public to be engaged and see what we're doing. But in this case, there's not an opportunity for comments or anything of that nature at a special meeting, and under Minnesota statutes is just that special meeting addressing that item. So.
Okay.
So what am I hearing? Wednesday or Thursday potentially?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. No earlier than 5:30 for the evening time.
But we did, tonight's Wednesday, we did at 6 o'clock.
6.
Good with you.
So.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So if need be, either Lynn or I will reach out individually just to make sure that it'll work and.
When will that be
Be
decided? I will
flexible.
block my schedule.
we have to post a special meeting,
3 days?
Yeah.
3 days.
is it 3 for a special?
You have to post for 3 days, yeah.
Yeah,
3 days.
3 days.
So if we,
Friday.
I'm just gonna block it now so that it's there.
okay,
You could let us know by Friday,
Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
so.
Okay.
but-
yeah, more to come. If we need to adjust from there, we'll adjust. Let's see, 12.0 is, I need a motion to adjourn.
Wait,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I was thinking
It's
about-
not- No,
Yes.
sorry about that. No, and I appreciate the comments about the bus drivers, right? And it's a tough job. I think that Debbie, you acted on her departure from the district last board meeting. Her job's tough and it's been, it's hard for me to send out those tweets, or not tweets, but the notices in the morning or at night about canceling routes. That's probably, that is a higher priority than any of our extracurriculars. We want to make sure we're running routes. But I think, I just want to thank Debbie for her time here. We didn't really get to do that last time. It's been a stressful year, and finding drivers, recruiting, retaining, and there's a balance. So appreciate all of her efforts, but we need to continue to move forward, and somehow we have to figure out a way to get some bus drivers on board. So whatever the board can help out with there. It was also pre-K. I was out to the middle school today. They had pre-K commencement, so
Yeah.
graduation. So that was pretty cool. But thank you for all your efforts. Thanks for the input and appreciate it. So thanks.
Everybody.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, anybody want to talk about it? All right, all those in favor of adjourning signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.